Hi, welcome to Off the Shelf Book Talk with Book Lovers. I'm Elizabeth Nelson here with Kay Johnson. So what have you been reading, Kay?
Well, Elizabeth, I read Nine Perfect Strangers by Liane Moriarty. I don't know, Leanne,
I think.
Liane Moriarty.
That's on my list. I think I have it at home, actually.
Well, allow me to tell you, it's actually very good. A friend of mine, Connie Lambert, had recommended it. And so one night I had nothing to read. Hello, Kindle. Had a book in 2 seconds. And so I started reading it, and it's about 9 strangers who register for a 10-day retreat at a remote health resort. They don't know each other. There might be a family of 3, I think, but otherwise they're all strangers. And the director of the spa promises the 10-day experience will change their life forever. So one wants to lose weight, one wants to reboot her life. You know, they're just trying to work through different issues.
Yeah.
And so anyway, they're all there and all sorts of stuff's happening. And it has a great twist.
Okay.
One that you're sort of like, really? And I knew there'd be a twist. I was just surprised by the twist.
Yeah. I haven't read that one of hers. I read Truly, Madly, Guiltily, I think it is, or Guilty.
She's real popular. People.
Yeah, that one, the whole premise of the book is that there are 2 or 3 couples that used to get together and do stuff in the evenings, and then something happened and now they don't talk.
Of course.
And so you're going through the whole thing. There are chapters where it's after this event has happened and it's them living with it, and then you have chapters explaining what happened leading up to that night. I was a little underwhelmed by what actually happened. I was like, this is not what I was expecting, and was kind of mad that I'd spent so much time reading the book.
Well, I have to say that I wasn't totally surprised by the twist.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of figure it's going to be so, but it was interesting.
Yeah.
I read the whole thing. And it wasn't annoying like James Rowland's
the ones
books.
that are kind of annoying, I think, is where you're expecting it to be like, oh, somebody dies, which is terrible to say you're waiting for somebody to die in a book, but or like some big twist, and then you don't get the one you want, and it's like, well, that's 12 hours of my life I'm not going to get back. I've invested so much time in this book, and nothing good happened.
I could say that the book's worth reading, and will it change your life? Probably not. But it won't be a waste.
Okay.
And stuff. And so, yeah, I'd recommend it.
Good.
What are you reading?
I read the first 2 books in the Caraval series by Stephanie Garber. So the first book is called Caraval, and the second one is called Legendary. And so the premise of the first book is there are 2 sisters that are they have a very controlling and domineering father, and so they escape from him to go to this contest that's held every year called Caraval. And it turns into, it's a competition where the winner gets 1 wish to change their life from the master of Caraval, whose name is Legend, which is where legendary falls into the second book. And it pretty much turns into one of the sister has to win the competition to save her sister's life. And there are other twists and turns in there, but it's very, I don't want to give away like the spoiler endings and all of that, but it's sort of, to me, is like a week-long murder mystery dinner party where you have people who are actors and are helping you kind of find your way through to the prize. And then you have the people that are coming in to participate or spectate.
Okay.
But the people that are coming in to compete don't know who the actors are. So you don't know
who's
who's telling the truth. And then for every like clue or anything you want, you have to give something, depending on what it is. So very interesting. I really like the world she built with it. The second book follows the same kind of theme with another Caraval kind of event, but I don't want to say anything about who's in that book because that would give away kind of the ending of the second book. But the third book in the series is called Finale, and that one comes out, I believe, in May. So the final book comes out in that trilogy, and I'm looking forward to that one. I already have it on my want to be read list. But they were enjoyable. It was kind of just a fun fantasy book. You didn't have to think too hard.
Would you recommend it?
Yes. And it was one of those that I tried to start it previously, and it hadn't really caught my attention, so I kind of kept it on my Kindle and was like, well, I'll come back to this one, and just left it open. And so I needed, when we had the snowstorm last weekend,
Yep.
one of many, so I was like, well, I'll pick it up and watch it, try it again. And then I finally got, I think, past that point where it started happening instead of explaining everything leading up to it.
Yes.
So sometimes you got to stick through that a little harder part.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Let's see. I read another one I read. It's by, I'm going to probably butcher this first name, but it's Oyakon Braithwaite. Her book I finished by her is called My Sister the Serial Killer.
I've seen that book, but
And the premise of it is it's a woman who works in a hospital, and her sister has a very bad habit of killing her boyfriends.
she really kills them.
Really kills her boyfriends, and then calls on her sister to help her clean it up.
The one who works at the hospital.
The one who works at the hospital. And then it's her trying to figure out if this really is accidents, if this is something her sister's doing on purpose. And it's really interesting. It's set in, I think, South Africa, but I'm not 100% sure. But it was really interesting. It didn't end the way I thought it was going to end, which was really nice. But it's kind of nice to have be like, oh, well, this isn't how I thought it was going to end at all. And it was kind of a nice change.
So you were surprised?
Yeah, I was surprised. Not a super thick book, short chapters, really easy read. And I think this was a debut novel for this author too. So
wow.
For a debut novel, I was pretty impressed.
Well, the thing is, with that title, chances are it'd catch people's eye.
I saw it on the shelf, and I was like, I turned to my friend who worked at the library, and I said, "You've known this was here, and you didn't tell me?" I'm like, "This is like a title that you would find really funny for me." And she was like, "Actually, I might have just put it on the shelf and was thinking about telling you." But because the tagline right inside the cover is that her younger sister has a very bad habit of killing her boyfriends.
That would be a bad habit.
That's the first tag in the book, and I was like, "That's a really great way to pull somebody into reading a book."
How many boyfriends does she kill?
At the point the book starts, it's her third boyfriend.
Wow. And at the end of the book?
I'm not going to give it away.
But how many boyfriends has she killed by the end of the book?
I can't give it away.
Oh, okay. I tried.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it was, like I said, nice quick read.
Well, when you mentioned last weekend in the snowstorm, I'll tell you, there's nothing worse than being homebound and not having a book. Mm-hmm. But of course, that would never happen to me because I have a Kindle. But being proactive, I downloaded the first 5 books of John Samford's Prey series.
Okay.
And they're through Overdrive through the library. Mm-hmm. And they have the first 15 books, 3 collections of 5 books each. So I downloaded the first 5.
Okay.
And I'd never read those. I'd read some of his later ones. Mm-hmm. And the protagonist is Lucas Davenport, starts out as a police officer and then ends up working his way through all sorts of different police. Mm-hmm. He ends up a U.S. Marshal. Well, they have to keep kind of moving him around because he sort of breaks the law. His idea is if I can't nail you for what you've done, mm-hmm. I will set you up and nail you for something you didn't do. Mm-hmm. But they're really, really good. And he has a lot of strange, there's serial killers, mm-hmm. there's drug dealers, he's a man of the street, but he writes games in his spare time, computer games, so he's a millionaire. So he drives a Porsche. And of course, he's good looking. And of course, women fall all over him. Yeah. He's a James Bond of the Minneapolis Police Department, 007. But they're really great books. And so I think it's the 29th book is coming out in April. And I think every one of his books is you have to put a hold on the library because they are just constantly in rotation. Mm-hmm. Even number 1 all the way to 28. and stuff. So
It kind of seems like to me once like I discover like a series, it feels like all of a sudden everybody else starts reading it at the same time. Because it can be like I can check out the first 2 books and I can see the rest of them are there waiting, and then all of a sudden they're just all gone, and I'm like, okay, really?
yeah.
This is like series is like 5 years old.
Well, that library book that I've been waiting for. I mean, seriously, I just re-upped on it, and it's 12 weeks. And how old is that book? That book's 2 years old.
It'll be worth it, I promise.
Oh, I'm gonna have to buy it. I mean,
Well, I finally just gave up on that Elaine Hildebrand book that you told me
I'll
to
buy
read.
it, get it for you.
You'll get it for me? Okay,
Was that The Perfect Couple?
yes.
That's good.
I'd been waiting, was it 3 months we talked
Oh,
about
longer
last
than
time?
that, I think.
4 or 5 months, and I think I still had like 3 months to go. I was on hold I just finished The Tattooist of Auschwitz by Heather Morris, and I was on hold for that one for like 3 weeks, and I think it told me it was going to be 2 more months, and then the library, through the Libby app, they ordered another copy. So then
good thinking.
picked up, which was really nice, but it was like, okay, I'll just be waiting for these books forever. That's okay. But then again, it's kind of nice though if I forget I've put on a hold for those. It's really nice to have that surprise email that's like, your electronic book has been immediately downloaded, and I'm like, oh, what did I order?
Yeah, it's like Christmas.
It is.
I get really excited when I get one of those because it's like, oh, what is it?
I know. I'm like, I had like 5 books on hold, which is my maximum on Libby, and I was like, what did I order again? I don't remember. But
See, we're
I sound
true
like a
readers.
huge book nerd now that I've said that.
I know. I'm with you too because it is the most exciting. Wow, what is
Well,
it?
I got really excited because I work as church secretary, and some of the different places have started sending us like Mother's Day gift, like things like, oh, you could use this bookmark or this. And I've gotten they've sent like 6 bookmarks to the church, and I finally asked them, I was like, does anybody want these? And they're like, you take them. And I'm like, yes, new bookmarks.
You're the right person to get
I know.
those.
They're like, we don't use them. They're like, I'm pretty sure the old secretary just threw them out because they were samples. And I was like, I will use them. And I think all the ones I gave are now in books. So
So did you like The Tattooist of Auschwitz?
Yeah, I thought it was really well written. I mean, the title sort of explains the premise of the book. It follows.
So is this person tattooing numbers on?
Yes, he's tattooing the numbers
And
on the
is he Jewish?
people. Yes. Yep, he is one of the prisoners, and when he gets there, another prisoner who it was the tattooist pulls him in and says, you'll be my assistant and I'll keep you safe or whatever. And then that prisoner,
Why did he pick him?
I don't remember. I think it was because of how he spoke quite a few languages and stuff, and they thought that would be helpful. But the book sort of follows him through he's at Auschwitz, and then he meets a girl, and then it's them trying to track with that. But it pretty much follows from when they come in and they're still building the camp, and then all the way through to the when the Americans came and took over the camp and freed everybody.
So they survived?
Yes. Yep. The book is based on.
Oh, a true story?
It's based on a true story. And actually, at the end of the book, when I was flipping through, they had a part that explained what they did after the book was done.
Wow.
And they had
I always like that.
They had pictures of the couple in the back, which was really nice. And there was I don't remember the author of the book, but there was one called The Librarian of Auschwitz.
Yes.
And that book, too, at the end, there's a chunk and it talks about what happened to everybody that the book was following as well, which is interesting. I mean, it's nice to go through and see that.
Yeah, because it's a hard, tough subject.
Yeah, it is, and it was good because it was kind of a different perspective than I was used to reading about those. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I can't say I enjoyed it. It was very well written. I don't feel I should say I enjoyed a book about that subject, as we've talked about before.
It's a tough
but
subject.
I mean, it was very well written for a book of that in that genre. So
it's it's on the. I don't know if it's on the bestseller list, but it's right at the top every time you look at new releases.
Yeah.
And because I was looking today at some, and that book popped up.
Yeah, and I hadn't been too interested in it when it originally came out, like the title, and it popped up on, I think, one of my Amazon emails. But then on a Facebook group I'm in with, which is a Facebook group with just readers in it, and they're constantly posting books that they're reading, which is very bad for your to be read list because it grows by bounds and bounds and bounds every day. But everybody was talking about that they'd gotten this book and they were reading it and they were all enjoying it. I was like, well, I'll check it out and read it. So it's all, and yeah, I could see why they all enjoyed it. So
it's a good story, well written.
Well written. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's not too long. I think I read it all in one evening. So
Which is probably 3 for a regular person.
maybe 2.
True.
I don't think I read as fast as you do, but
That might be. I'm older though. I've had more practice.
that's true.
Well, I'm sort of reading popular fiction at the moment.
Okay.
So I read Private Games by James Patterson.
Okay.
And I like the private books. They're about a detective agency, but it's worldwide.
Okay.
And they're cutting edge on everything. And the police often will come to them because they have better labs and all this sort of thing. But the Private Games takes place at the Olympics in London, and Private is brought in to help with security.
Now, is that his name? Is Private?
It's the name of the company.
Oh, okay.
Private. I forget the guy's name who runs it.
Who cares?
But, of course, he's like Lucas Davenport, 007,
There's
rich, good looking.
That's why it's always funny, like when you see all of the romance novels where they're all like, he was a rake, and it's like, well, how many rakes in London did we have? Because
Yes.
if we're going off of all these books, I mean, there was nothing in London but these people having these terrible love stories.
That's true. Damsels in distress
I know.
and rakes.
Just damsels in distress being rescued hand and right, and yeah, people who you weren't supposed to marry.
when you mentioned that, I saw something as a premise of a book, and it popped up, and I thought, what a clever idea. It was a contest you entered, and you got to date your favorite rake from romance, and they created someone
Is that the title of the book, Date a Rake?
I don't remember the title, but
we could write that book.
We could.
Date a Rake.
When 45 rakes were at the dance with their 92 damsels in distress. With their plunging necklines, heaving bosoms, and the men with their strong chests.
Long hair
flowing. And they were either pirates, buccaneers,
or they're an earl who's lost his fortune.
That's
Who has to marry the woman to save his family.
That's true. Or she has to marry the fortune
Yeah.
to save her family.
This is true.
And of course, they have a night of passion. Then they're separated. They meet again.
Yeah.
And then fireworks that no one wants. But then they end up together. We could write these, Betsy.
With those books, I always think about, I'm like, okay, so the book ended. I'm like, well, now what happened?
Well, rake 2.
Once they had all this excitement ended and now they're married. It's like, well, now we're married.
Well, then that's the end of it. They're probably divorced before long. Or she'll kill him or he'll kill her. Or he probably will go to sea then. We just never see him again.
Probably.
And then he starts all over again in America or someplace.
It's just one rake. He just changes his name between each book.
Oh, and he's got great names like...
Oh, gosh, they're all great. And they all piercing eyes.
Yes. Or she has sapphire blue eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Or green. Don't forget the green eyes that flash like a cat.
Yeah. I know we were at a thrift store today and going through the romance section. I'm like, I bet I could pick up any one of these books and guess based on the title what's happening. Because they all kind of, but I mean, some of those are kind of nice to know because if you're in kind of a slump, it's kind of nice to just pick up a slump, like a reading slump,
Yeah,
be like, you can pick up one of those books and I know what I'm getting into.
Well, I have to say that I'm trying to think of the last true romance I read, and it was one I got free on Amazon.
Yeah, I downloaded one from Kindle Unlimited, but I don't remember what the title was.
Wasn't nearly as exciting as the books we read.
I know.
These books.
Well, we've got this one going pretty well.
And, the thing with it is those rakes are always English, too.
Yes. Yep, they are.
Yep. It always takes place in England, and then they get on ships, and then they go somewhere. They either go to
True.
like Haiti or the islands, or
Somewhere like that.
and he could be Irish too.
He could be part of the IRA. You know?
You never
Yeah.
know.
British independence.
But
or
he's
Irish
really,
independence from Britain.
he's really not though.
Yeah.
He's really a lord in disguise. But back to my private book.
I was going to say, now that we've alienated half of our viewing audience, what else happened in your private book?
Well, my private book is about they brought in for security for the Olympics, and anyway, a madman's decided that the Olympics need to be returned to their original premise, of
Naked
beautiful
people.
bodies and strength and all this, and so he starts killing people, blowing people up and just doing all sorts of shenanigans, and so of course Private has to come in and figure out who's doing it, and it was a twist though who did it. I mean, I
Okay.
have to say that was pretty good.
Well, that's good.
Because I was surprised by it. And it takes a lot to surprise me with some of these books. But I did enjoy that one. And I don't like all Patterson stuff because a lot of it can be really,
It can get a little gory
Yeah.
at times.
but I like
He's
his per-
another one that kind of falls in line with Agatha Christie with how many ways he's killed people.
Yeah, boy, I'll tell you, I still think you'd have to think twice about being a friend of Agatha Christie's. Because if she offered you tea, you'd go, She offered you a scone, you'd,
You're not researching a new book, are you? That's what you have to ask.
Or if she was standing behind you, or she's playing with a scarf.
That would be a good, play premise. Somebody goes over to Agatha Christie's house and it's
And
her
she's
just
working
going
on a way to
nuts.
kill somebody. And so she's tying rope as she's sitting there visiting with you and running a scarf through her fingers.
Gosh.
So what else have you read?
The other one I listened to an audiobook called The Raven Boys. It's by Maggie Stiefvater, we're going to go with. Stiefvater, I can't pronounce it. I give up on pronunciation. But I listened to the audiobook, and the audiobook is actually read by Will Patton,
Oh, okay.
the author. So he's in Armageddon, and he was in Gone in 60 Seconds.
I
And
like
he has a
him.
real kind of southern drawl twang. And so the book takes place in Georgia, I believe, and it follows this girl. She lives in a family of psychics, and she has no psychic abilities. Her ability is to enhance everybody else's, and so she goes out with her aunt. There's one day a year where everybody who's going to die in the next year shows up, and so they write them all down, and if it's any of their clients, they let them know, hey, sometime within the next year you could die.
Well, there, that's good news.
And so for the first time on this night, she's able to see a spirit, and she's the only one that's able to see him. And then she's told, well, the only reason you would be able to see and hear him is either if he's your true love or if you're going to kill him. And she has also been told that the first boy she kisses, she's going to kill.
Well, there you go.
So then it's her trying to figure out, and then she gets tangled up with this guy and his friends who are looking for some hidden, magical power. And so it's everything that follows kind of their relationship and what's going on in this treasure they're looking for. It was really interesting, but, I could listen to Will Patton read the phone book.
He's that good. Better than
got-
Meryl, huh?
Yes, better than Meryl, yep. But it was just he's just got kind of that voice that I told Thomas that I can't listen to this book in the car. I'm going to fall sound asleep because it was just so relaxing. He could do those guided meditations where you just have to
sure.
veg out. I haven't listened to it yet, but he also does audiobooks for Stephen King's Mr. Mercedes trilogy.
Oh, okay.
And the first one in Mr. Mercedes, there's a guy that drives his car through a line of people waiting to get into a job fair.
There we go.
And then he starts sending messages to this retired police officer about, you have to stop me or I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do something worse. And so then that is following one of the people that was in line, the person that was driving the car, and then this retired detective who's trying to solve it.
Is it good?
I haven't read it. There's obviously Will Patton audiobook, which I'm on hold for it right now, and there's 3 books in the series as of now, I know. So I think it's a trilogy actually. So I think the last book just came out.
Okay.
So, but since we're talking about your Meryl Streep comment, I listened to Heartburn by Nora Ephron, which is read by Meryl.
Does she read all her books?
I don't think she reads all of them, but she read this one.
Is this
And-
one the one where she's married to?
He's a senator or he's on some committee, and he cheats on her when she's 7 months pregnant. She's going to go to New York.
You know, Nora
And-
Ephron was married to Woodward, Bob
Okay.
Woodward. I think the story is based on their marriage.
Oh, is it? The only thing I can tell you is that when it comes to Nora Ephron, I'm going to stick to You've Got Mail. No. I was not a huge fan. Like I've mentioned before, I don't know if it was how she read it or if it was just the character. You just didn't really care what anybody did. But I'm going to stick with You've Got Mail.
So you weren't
So-
a fan.
No.
You read her other books?
I haven't, but at this point, I'm a little nervous too. But maybe I will. Check us out next time to see if maybe we do get brave enough to check out any more Nora Ephron audiobooks. If you have any suggestions of what we should read or anything, let us know on Facebook or Twitter, or send us an email at offtheshelfbooktalk@gmail.com. We'll see you next time.